Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope you're all having a great day. We're going to do a little bit of a shorter episode of The Cult today because at 8 p.m. tonight, I have a training I need to get ready for. If you are interested, there is still time to sign up for my Zen Your Life Mindfulness Strategies for Work and Play program that is going to go live at 8 p.m. tonight in a private workshop. If you can't join us tonight, but you want to get access to the content, the workshop will be recorded. And I got some last minute prep I need to do with that. And I'm really looking forward to giving this workshop. I haven't done this workshop in a couple of years, but it used to be something I would do like all the time because my first book was all about mindfulness. And I'm redoing some of my old training programs to get them online, make them accessible for people, give you guys content that is related to work and professional development, but also you can use in your personal life as well, that has no woke nonsense in it, just grounded in psychology, like the good old fashioned stuff. But I'm going to be doing that at 8 p.m. tonight. I got some last minute prep I need to do for that, but we do have a show that we're going to do today. So we got a couple things we're going to talk about today. Number one, Project Veritas has announced their new CEO, and I have to give it to Project Veritas on this one. I did not see this one coming. They really pulled one right out of their back pocket. They have, for their new CEO, the woman who worked with James O'Keefe on the Acorn story that made James O'Keefe famous. And some might say that that Hannah Giles here was the woman who conceived of the very idea that Project Veritas is founded in. I have heard rumors about this, that James O'Keefe gets a lot of the credit for the Acorn story, but it was really Hannah Giles who conceived of the concept, who thought it all through, and then she brought James O'Keefe into her concept. And the rest is history. And now she is the new CEO of Project Veritas. We're going to watch her welcome video there. And I think this is going to be a really interesting inflection point for the conservative right. Do they care about hero worship, or do they care about undercover investigative journalism? Which do they care about? Because to be quite frank, if they really care about people who are out there doing the work, breaking the stories, doing the undercover investigative journalism, Hannah Giles was there at the very beginning with James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe has said that Hannah is a national treasure. He said so in his book. And if the conservative right continues to want to go, Project Veritas is done, I think that we can properly assess that they're engaged in hero worship, they are in a cult of personality, and that we can completely discount everything they say from this point forward because they are going to prove to us that they don't actually care about the things they claim to care about. This is the danger of getting sucked into a cult, guys. Is you lose all sense of logic and reason. You just go blindly following a single personality, no matter how much evidence you have that that personality is not someone that you should be following, that that personality is toxic, that that personality has taken credit for work that he did not do for years and years and years and years and years, raised a lot of money doing it, made himself famous doing it. But if we really care about investigative journalism, you have one of the originators of the entire strategy right here. I think this is going to be a really interesting thing to see play out. We're going to watch Hannah's welcome video a little bit later. And then we're going to talk about the fact that Discovery Plus has queered Abraham Lincoln. And I don't want to, and this is not actually what a lot of the big problem with this is not what a lot of you guys are going to think it is. Okay? Because I don't give a flying flip if Abraham Lincoln was gay. I don't care. Or bisexual or whatever. I don't care. That is irrelevant. You shouldn't care about that either. The problem is not that they discussed people that Abraham Lincoln may have slept with when he was sleeping in the same bed with them for 4 years. The problem is that they're introducing queer theory as a part of it, and then we're going to talk about that. So those are the two big stories that we're going to cover today on The Cult, guys. This is my regular show that I do Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. On Saturdays, we go a little bit later at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. But before we get right into it, I got a mysterious note in my DMs literally right before I went live, and it said, check your doorstep. And I was like, what is going on? And apparently there was a gift from the cult. And so I yelled for Victor to check the doorstep. I'm not going to dox my address. I yelled for Victor to check the doorstep, and he did. And there was indeed a gift from the cult, and I don't know what it is. So I'm going to open up the gift live on the show, and we're going to see what you guys did. And I feel rather self-conscious. Let's see what's going on. No, 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 you did not. You guys did not. You did not. No. Oh my God. I cannot believe you guys did this. I cannot believe. You got me the Melania Trump jacket. I've wanted this jacket for years. I'm not even joking. You got me the Melania Trump jacket. Thank you, guys. I love you. Thank you. Oh my God. I cannot believe you did this. Oh. Oh, it's perfect. Thank you all. I did not see that coming. Joshua is going to flip out. Wow. Wow. Thank you guys. Truly. That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Before I cry. All right. Let's get into the show, guys. And again, please make sure you mount that like button for me. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And of course, please make sure that you are subscribed to my, I'm going to like cry now. Please make sure you are subscribed to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. This is my home base for content. Contrary to what some moron content creators might say on YouTube, this is actually where I get the most views by far, and it's not even close. And this is where I post the most important stories, breaking down the woke ideology, doing original journalism, trying to make this stuff as simple to understand as I possibly can. So you guys can share the content out with your friends, your family, your community, making sure as many people as possible know what's going on in the world today. There we go. In addition to the They Queered Abraham Lincoln story, I also last night posted this premium article, which is a Woke 101 article, which is a series I do breaking down the woke ideology on the archetypes of the 3 different types of leftists that you are going to encounter out in the wild, what you need to know about them, the psychology, how you need to approach them, just important tidbits that I've learned over the last couple of years. You can find that on the Substack right now. Murphy's Pool said Abe was just trying to earn an extra $20. I don't know about that, Murphy's Pool, but I will take your word for it. All right, guys, let's dig in. And I want to start today with the story about Project Veritas, and I need to set up my hair sound. Project Veritas has hired a new CEO, and it is none other than Hannah Giles, the woman who started it all, along with James O'Keefe. From the headquarters of Project Veritas, Hannah Giles was announced as the CEO of the nonprofit investigative journalism organization founded in 2010. The organization uses research and undercover cameras to investigate. We all know that about Project Veritas. At the age of 19, Giles conceived and developed the idea for the 2009 Acorn undercover camera investigation, where she executed with fellow investigative journalist James O'Keefe. Oh! Giles posed as a prostitute, visiting multiple Acorn locations across the country, exposing the organization's willingness to facilitate underage brothels, child sex trafficking, and tax evasion. As a result of this landmark investigation, Acorn was federally defunded and disbanded. This reporting caught the attention of a legendary journalist, Andrew Breitbart, who became a friend and mentor of Giles. On the heels of this story, Project Veritas was founded by O'Keefe and headquartered in New York. O'Keefe describes Hannah Giles as a national treasure in his book, Breakthrough. Giles was featured in the Sundance and Tribeca 2017 documentary, Acorn in the Firestorm. Let's watch the video that she filmed and that they released just a couple hours ago.
Hi, I'm Hannah Giles, and I've just been named CEO of Project Veritas. You might remember me as the 20-year-old reporter who wore a sarong and stilettos in the landmark Acorn investigation. I'm the journalist who originally conceived and developed the idea for the undercover Acorn video investigation, which I later executed in 2009 with fellow investigative journalist James O'Keefe. After that, I went on to found the American Phoenix Foundation, where I trained hundreds of college and citizen journalists around the country. My journalism has received national and international coverage and awards. I also owned a community transformation consulting firm that grew to over 450 employees. I took a sabbatical to build a sustainable farm that's been featured in Men's Health magazine in Edible Austin, and to raise my 3 children that I homeschool. I enjoy painting, drawing, raising packs of livestock guardian dogs, and training with my personal protection canines. The recent void in leadership at Project Veritas has led us to today. The Project Veritas team is the most creative and mission-driven team I've ever seen. I'm honored and humbled to now lead this team into a new era. At Project Veritas, we are more committed than ever to producing stories that expose the stubborn false narratives that plague our society. The team has done some incredible reporting lately, exposing pedophiles, telling the truth about the medical professionals pushing hormone blockers and gender transition drugs to children as young as 8 years old. Congress and state legislators are responding to this investigative reporting in dramatic ways. With your support and my core vision on what needs to be done, Project Veritas will shine light into the darkest corners and will continue to resurrect great journalism. Courage has always defined Project Veritas. Now, I'm honored to join their fight for truth.
Seems to me that Project Veritas hired an experienced journalist there who has actually done the work, not only done the work herself, but has taught many people how to do the same thing. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with this? Well, I'll tell you what's going to go wrong with this because I was looking at their Twitter just a little while ago. I can bring up their Twitter so you guys can see the insanity that is going on with how the conservative right is responding to this, which is, how do you guys think that the conservative right responded to the announcement of this new CEO? Does anyone want to take any guesses? Oh, yeah, they're crying. They're crying severely. Let's just take a look. There we go. Here is the tweet from a couple hours ago announcing it, the full press release. And basically they're crying. Let's see. Right now, you're trash until proven otherwise, but I'm not buying it until you acknowledge James. You know, this person who I used to consider to be smart. Your brand is tarnished, and this isn't going to fix it. She's no James. Good luck. Just stop. Boo. Don't care about your treasonous staff or executives. We'll see. Let O'Keefe do his own thing. Well, he shouldn't have broken his employment agreement, and he definitely shouldn't have gone on a months-long smear campaign against the organization. Oh, yeah, we're re-ring all the way home because, guys, remember, they're yelling she's not James O'Keefe. Well, she's actually better than James O'Keefe because she's the woman that conceived of the investigation that put them both on the map, you know, no big deal. But it's like, remember, guys, conservatives are definitely not engaging in hero worship. They definitely aren't being sucked into a cult of personality where all they care about is the personality and not the substance behind it. They're not behaving unhinged at all. Project Veritas, what the hell is that? Are you sure you don't mean OMG? Is this a joke? If you want nostalgia points from the 2009 Sting, you should hire that James O'Keefe guy. Well, why would they want to hire the James O'Keefe guy? Why would they want to when they could have the person that conceived of the investigation that wouldn't be, you know, terrorizing their staff and spending all their money on things that aren't related to the business and you know, generally acting like an unhinged lunatic? But you go on and on. Sad to exploit Hannah like that. She hasn't been active in years, barely has any experience. See, guys, what your sellouts buy, your mission, the mission is dead. I mean, this is what you can expect to see from the right, because honestly, guys, I am now more convinced of it than ever. The right has a hero worship complex. And this is why we can never ever rely on them to do anything productive because they care more about branding and marketing and an image than they do about the substance of what's going on. We care more about James O'Keefe than we do about investigative journalism. Absolutely. Every day of the week. You know, I've been chatting with a lot of people from Project Veritas lately. A lot of people. And they're all lovely people. They really are. And it's been a pleasure to get to know some of them. And you know, one of the things that do you guys know how the other night on that Jackass what Good Logic's show, he basically said, so if you guys didn't see it, the YouTube lawyer, one of the many fake lawyers on YouTube, Good Logic, whatever, I don't even know his real name. He basically said, what does it really take to be an investigative journalist at Project Veritas? What does it really take to be an undercover journalist? Basically, a social media profile. You build a social media profile, and you don't even build it yourself. The organization builds it for you, and then you basically catfish someone, and that's it. I bet all of those undercover journalists are easily replaceable. They're all so easily replaceable. There are 100,000 people that can replace those investigative journalists. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. And I knew theoretically that what Project Veritas was doing and the undercover journalists, the actual journalists, not James O'Keefe, because James O'Keefe wasn't doing journalism with Project Veritas. He was not doing it. He was fundraising. I knew that what those journalists had to go through was actually embedding themselves in situations for weeks, months at a time. I didn't realize how long some of that stuff took. We're talking like months upon months upon months upon months to get one story. That's what those journalists have to do. They have to maintain relationships, they have to cultivate relationships, they have to get people in high-level positions to basically spill the beans, which I don't know, like, doesn't happen on, like, the first date, you know what I'm saying? And just the amount that the conservative right has completely discounted the work of those journalists in favor of sucking up to James O'Keefe, who has not done this type of work in years, if he ever did it at all. Because again, I've heard before that James may have taken quite a bit of the credit from that original investigation to launch his own career. I don't know how much of that's true. I don't know how much of it's not true, but I do know that James was not necessarily supportive of some of the journalists that were actually breaking some of the biggest stories that Project Veritas has broken, which he had nothing to do with at all. It's not what people think. And that's really my point. The image that was put out of Project Veritas by James O'Keefe is not what that is not reflective of reality. It is not reflective of the reality of what was required in order to produce that level of journalism. And so I think that the conservative right is going to be at a really interesting inflection point here. Either all they care about is hero worship and a cult of personality and worshiping at the feet of one person who wasn't even breaking the news stories. And there is, guys, no doubt in my mind at all that this OMG thing is going to crash and burn. There is no doubt in my mind at all because James O'Keefe doesn't treat people well. I'm not going to go into more detail now because these are not my stories to tell. But James O'Keefe does not treat people well. And when you don't treat people well, I know this is going to come as a shock, they don't want to work for you. When you don't treat people well, they are not capable of performing at their best level. When the people working for you don't know if you're going to explode on them at any given time, that's going to have an impact on their performance and their inclination to show up. All right? So there is no doubt in my mind that this OMG thing is going to crash and burn at some point. And I think we're going to watch it happen live. And I think that the conservative right are not going to want to admit what's happening. You know, there are a lot of people right now saying like, you know, Project Veritas is going under, blah, 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 blah. I don't think they are, guys. I really don't think that's the truth. I don't think that's hinged into reality. I don't. Hannah, to me, seems like a really competent, capable person who has built a couple businesses, a couple organizations. She seems like someone who understands people. She has actually trained young people on how to do investigative journalism. I love the fact that she built a farm and all of the different components that go along with that. Like, that's actually really cool. And she seems like a really competent leader to be able to lead the organization in a far more productive direction than it's been led in the last several years. And there is no doubt about it. in my mind that that OMG, not Project Veritas anymore. I think Project Veritas is going to be fine. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to watch OMG come crashing down at some point. It might take months, it might take years. It really depends. Sometimes narcissists, and you can watch the whole stream I did about James O'Keefe being a narcissist. I 100% believe that James O'Keefe is a narcissist. I do. Everything I've heard, everything I've seen only leads to the conclusion that he is minimally a narcissist. Maybe other things as well, but I feel pretty confident about that one. Narcissists can be successful for a while. There are a lot of really successful narcissists in the world. There are. They're very good at getting into high level positions. They're very good at building relationships. They're very emotionally manipulative. They know how to say the things that are going to get them their way, things like that. And so there is absolutely the possibility that James O'Keefe is going to be successful at this for a little while. However, it will inevitably crash and burn because at some point, it always crashes and burns. It might not be right away. It might not be on the schedule that we want it to be on, but it will happen eventually. I think that James has already made several mistakes. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how James responds to the Project Veritas lawsuit. I personally think we are going to see, leading up to the lawsuit, leading up to like whenever they go to court, I think we're going to see James get worse and worse and worse. I think that the smear campaigns directed at Project Veritas are going to get worse and worse and worse. I want every single person to pay attention to the influencers who are going for Project Veritas's throat. I want you to pay attention to them because I think there's a very real reality in which James O'Keefe is manipulating them in order to do that, like Tim Pool. I think that Tim Pool is way too emotionally caught up in this whole thing, and he's not looking at it clearly. And because he's not looking at it clearly, it's going to be very easy for James to emotionally manipulate him to get him to do what he wants him to do. I think we're going to see people like Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec. I think we're going to see people at the Blaze go for Project Veritas's throat because they will be manipulated into doing it by James. And we're going to see the scale of the attacks increase leading up to the lawsuit because that's just the way it goes. That's the way that narcissism works. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they try to do. I think that I also, by the way, wouldn't be surprised if there were actually attacks directed at Hannah specifically, at the leadership of Project Veritas specifically, smear campaigns directed at each of those, like each of the people that were involved in wronging him. I wouldn't want to be them. I feel really bad for them. They got put in a position that they were in a lose-lose situation, and I think that they've probably made the best that they can with it. And it's just too bad. It didn't have to be this way, but this is the way it goes when you have narcissists in leadership positions. Eventually, it all crashes and burns. And I'm going to be interested to watch what happened, and I'm going to be interested to see who goes along with it, who continues to promote James O'Keefe and this cult of personality, and who eventually wakes up to what's really gone on, and who is actually going to do the work that really matters. All right, guys, that is the Project Veritas story. We'll look forward to more coming on there. But I also want to talk about queer Abraham Lincoln. Now, this show has been on Discovery Plus for like a year now. And of course, I didn't bother to watch it. Did anyone watch this show? This is from a series called The Book of Queer. Has anyone watched this show? Because apparently they are telling queer history of historical figures, the stuff that you don't learn in school. Naruto, thank you for the super chat. Last year, leftists accused Eric July of scamming people out of money by checks their notes, giving people a comic book they paid for. Oh, I mean, I get accused of scamming people out of money all the time by by creating a program to figure out what's going on in the schools that, actually exists on the internet. Um, so that doesn't surprise me at all. It's not just leftists who do this sort of shit. It's people who claim to be on the right too. It's woke people who do this. But we pay that no mind. So no one bothered to watch the Book of Queer. And maybe we should have, because it's actually really crazy. So I'm going to play you guys a clip. And here's the thing. In the clip that we are going to watch, they are going to claim that Abraham Lincoln was gay, and that he slept with men. And I know what's going to happen. I know that everyone is going to get distracted by this. Now, here's the thing, guys. It could be true that Abraham Lincoln slept with men. And I don't want to hear, but he married a woman. Well, there are many men in the world who like to sleep with both men and women, okay? So I don't want to hear that he married a woman and therefore it's proof that he couldn't possibly sleep with a man. No, 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 no. And also, gay men on occasion do sleep with women. They do. So just because he married, and you can look at Mary Todd Lincoln and assume that she would probably be a consummate fag hag. I'm sorry. Like, I maintain my position on that one. But just because he married a woman in order to assimilate to the heteronormative culture at the time because he wanted to be a politician, that doesn't mean he didn't also sleep with men. And I'm going to be honest, guys, I've looked at the evidence, and the fact of the matter is that he shared a bed with a man that he was living with for 4 years. For 4 years, okay? Now, you might say, but Carlin, that was the norm at the time. Men shared beds all the time. Okay, well, fine. But the norm at the time was for like a couple of nights. There is a big difference between a couple of nights when you're hard up for cash. We can all understand that. And 4 years when Lincoln was building a law practice and he had more than enough money to go and get his own place, and yet he still stayed living with the guy he was living with and sleeping in the same bed for 4 years, and you're going to tell me nothing ever happened? Bullshit. Exactly, Brett. Exactly. Hard for cash. Well, might have to agree to disagree on this one, Murphy's Pool. But here is the thing, guys. I need everyone to focus, because what people should be upset about in this clip is not whether or not Abraham Lincoln liked dick. Okay? That is not what we should be upset about. You like what you like. Who really cares? The problem is that they used this series to overtly advance queer theory and introduce new people to what queer theory is. That is the problem. Not Abraham Lincoln liking dick, queer theory. Queer theory is the problem. And guess what? So the argument that they're going to make is that Abraham Lincoln wasn't gay, he was queer. What is the difference between gay and queer? Pop quiz in the chat. What is the difference between saying someone is gay and saying someone is queer? You should know this. I've been posting a lot of videos about this lately. Naruto says the term beard exists for a reason. It does exist for a reason, Naruto. Thank you. Thank you. Queer theory is about politics. Being queer is a political act. Being queer is rebelling against the system. Queer is something that goes against the norm. Queer is a deliberate act of political rebellion. Queer destabilizes the normal. Queer is political against the norms. Queer is political against the normal. Queer is rebelling against heterosexual heteronormativity, cis heteronormativity. Queer, injecting the norm, rebelling against the norm in capitalism. Exactly. Queer is intentionally ambiguous. One is rebelling. You guys are so good. Congratulations. The reason that they're saying that Lincoln is queer instead of gay, and they make this explicit. No, he wasn't gay. He wasn't gay. He was queer. And this is what queer theory means. That is what people should be upset about. Not whoever he was boinking in his free time. The fact that they are using historical figures to inject and teach people about queer theory. All right, let's watch. We're just going to watch a portion of the clip because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but you can watch the full clip that I have here over on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Hey now. And we're going to get to the queer theory part. So you can see basically Lincoln slept with here we go. This is the part where they start interjecting queer theory. Okay.
It's an arc of a lifetime, and it's a sexual arc.
Sexual arc? Amen, sister. That sounds queer as
Howdy, I'm Eric Cervini, the Book of Queer's resident homo historian. Welcome to the footnotes. You may have noticed that we haven't labeled Abe gay because that wouldn't make too much sense. Why? Because sexuality, just like race and gender, is what we call a social construct, or a concept that we as a society just came up with. And during Lincoln's time, the idea of a homosexual hadn't yet been conceived or constructed in the English language. For hundreds of years, people didn't agree on a word for men who loved men. And given all of these changes in language throughout history, that's why we love the word queer. All it means, in the words of queer theorist David Halperin, is whatever's at odds with the normal, the legitimate, the dominant. And hey,
they literally quoted a queer theorist in the video. Let me just go back to that part. Look at this. Queer is, just in case the socialists hadn't made this clear to us already, queer is whatever is at odds with the normal, the legitimate, and the dominant. They're literally quoting queer theorists in the damn video.
Dominant. And hey, we may even come up with newer social constructs to describe ourselves in the future. After all, they're really just figments of our collective imagination.
Well, I suppose I'll put my gaydar away for this chapter. Anyway, with Bill Green as a late night.
So then they go on and they talk about how Lincoln slept with a dude for 4 years in the same bed. Now with the all-new queer translation. Listen, we'll watch a little bit of this. Hang on.
What would the furniture for a single bedstead cost?
17 and a half.
It is probably cheap enough, but cheap as it is, I have not money to pay. But if you will credit me until Christmas and my experiment here as a lawyer is a success, I'll pay you then. If I fail on that, then I'll probably never be able to pay you at all.
I can suggest a plan by which you'll be able to attain your end without incurring any debt. I have a very large room with a very, very large double bed in it,
Ooh.
which you're perfectly welcome to share with me if you choose.
You guys get the idea. Yes, the acting is something else, isn't it? But the point here, guys, that I want to make to you again is I know everyone's inclination is going to be Abraham Lincoln wasn't gay. He was married to a woman. I don't know why they would say he was gay. I don't know why you guys have got to resist this urge. You really do. You've got to resist the urge to look like raging homophobes. I'm not talking to everyone in the chat. I know I'm talking to very few people in the chat, but this is what happens when these types of things come out, is that you have people that are on the right that just can't resist making themselves look homophobic, and it is not a good look, guys. It does not help us. It does not advance anything, and it just gives the left exactly what they want. I need you to resist the urge to focus on the fact that, you know, maybe sometime in the past Lincoln did some things that you weren't expecting to find out. I need you to resist the urge to rake him across the coals for that, and instead come back and focus on the fact that they are using a historical, quote unquote, historical show to teach people queer theory. That is what is important. There is nothing else that is important other than that. Okay? Let me read the rest of this article. The danger here isn't what the series might reveal about your favorite historical figures. Who really cares who they slept with? The more significant problem is the explicit introduction of queer theory into the discussion, which some might argue is also a made up theory that is just a figment of the imaginations of the woke leftists who preach it as reality. When critiquing things like this, I think it's important to be explicit about what aspect of it we are critiquing. It is not the gay part. I know that it sounds kind of awful to say you need to go through to every step imaginable to make sure you don't make yourself look like a homophobe. But the reason that we need to say that is that a lot of people are making themselves look homophobic right now. And every single time someone makes themselves look homophobic, whether it is unintentional or not unintentional, as a lot of people are overt. Like, if you look at Lauren Witzke's Twitter feed on any given day, it's not good. Every single time you make yourself look homophobic by focusing on who people are sleeping with, you not only undercut what the real problem is, because the real problem is not gay people. Most gay people just want to be left alone. The real problem is not trans people. Most trans people just want to be left alone. The real problem is queer theory. And that translates to the activist wing of the left. This is not about being gay. It's not about being a lesbian. It's not about being bi. It's not about being trans. It is about trans activism, far left activism, and queer theory, queer Marxism, transgender Marxism, whatever you want to call it. Okay? No, Hallie, this is not the problem. I really need you to listen on this one. This is not the problem. That is overt. Lincoln is dead. Lincoln is dead. Lincoln has had a lot worse stuff said about him than he loved a man. I promise you. And again, guys, if we are focused on they're besmirching the memory of Abraham Lincoln, then that leads to, well, why is it a problem if Lincoln was sleeping with men? And then you go, because, and then you look like a homophobe. And then they use that against you. And in the meantime, you've obfuscated what the actual problem is. The actual problem is not who Lincoln slept with. The actual problem is the fact that they are using the show to interject queer theory. Sam, this also doesn't matter because this is another thing I've heard. Well, Lincoln was a tyrant. Okay, who gives a flying fuck? This doesn't matter either. Guys, truly. Again, doesn't matter. Not relevant to the discussion. They are using the shiny object trick and everyone is just buying into it. I promise you guys, if you keep getting distracted by things that don't matter and that make no difference, you are going to obfuscate and hide what actually does matter, which is what? What matters most in the course of this video? I would like to see some answers in the chat. They want you to be distracted. Every time you ignore what the actual problem is, you are giving the left what they want. What do they want in this? Yes, bot. Queer theory is what actually is the problem. Queer theory is the problem. Nope. No. Not in this case, Nick. And I understand why you're saying that, but I disagree with this. Calling out the fact that they are using these shows to teach people queer theory is not something that you ignore. There are many things you can. I would ignore the fact that they're talking about Lincoln being gay. I would absolutely ignore that. Don't take that fucking bait. But not the queer theory stuff. You always want to call that out. Queer theory is the problem. Queer theory is what the focus should be. Queer theory. Exactly. Exactly. Queer theory to disrupt the system. Hallie, that's just not true, and I'm going to recommend that you go back and watch some of my recent videos on the topic because that is just not true. That is made up, and it's just not helpful. I'm sorry. People need to stay focused. Guys, the very best way that people get distracted in this fight is you do it to yourselves. Okay? Queer theory is the problem. The Marxism is the problem. That's what we should be focused on. While critiquing things like this, I think it's important to be explicit about what aspect of it we're critiquing. It's not the gay part. That's fine. Who cares? The critique is on the theory they're advancing, not the lived experiences of LGBT people. When you do this, you take away their ability to hurl a slur at you, and the left will probably hurl the slur at you anyway, but it doesn't hurt for you to make it more difficult for them to do so. If you have a hissy fit over the fact they're saying Lincoln was gay, how dare they say Lincoln was gay? If you do that, how easy is it to someone say, why do you care if someone was gay? Are you a homophobe? Do you hate gay people? Do you guys see how that works? You're giving them what they want. They want you to have that reaction. I bet you this entire show is explicitly to make people on the right have, how dare they say people are gay? And then they say, look, the right are the homophobes that we always said they were. Look, we told you, they just don't want to know the truth. They're homophobic. They hate gay people. Why would they care? Exactly. You have to understand the reason your enemy is making the moves that they are so that you can counter those moves ahead of them. You can see the board. You can see 10 moves out on the board. Now, how do we know the reasons the enemy is making the moves? Well, we always go back to our 4 goals of the woke left. Can you make some AI art of Dylan Mulvaney? Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Philosophists, don't tempt me. Oh, my. That's going to be a fun project for later. Anyway, we always go back to the 4 goals of the woke left. If you want to know what the left is going to do and why they're going to do it and how to respond to them, you always have to keep in mind that the 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever the same. Number 1, gain as much power as possible. Number 2, destabilize the system. Number 3, attack capitalism. Number 4, usher in their Marxist utopia. Everything they do is designed to meet one of those 4 goals. So what goals are they trying to meet in terms of queer theory? What in advancing queer theory through this series? Well, they're not trying to gain power because they already have the power. Their power is in getting the series made in the first place, right? So the goal there is not to gain power. They are absolutely trying to destabilize the system. Queer theory is explicitly about being against whatever the dominant ideology is, which seems to be a pretty direct attack on the system by introducing it to the world. They are pushing the world to question the very nature of what they thought was true, which is inherently destabilizing. They're going to do this to cause problems because anytime you destabilize the system, you will inevitably cause problems. And when they do that, they're going to blame those problems on what? On capitalism. On capitalism. Yes, it does sound like a manifesto that was written about 150 years ago, doesn't it? It does sound like a little red manifesto that was written a while ago. And then once they undermine capitalism, they will try to usher in their Marxist utopia. See how that works, guys? Apply the 4 goals anytime you see the left doing something crazy, and that will help you to figure out exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that is when you're playing 4D chess. That's what playing 4D chess looks like. It doesn't look like reacting and going, why are they saying Lincoln was gay? He wasn't gay. He wasn't. We swear he wasn't. That's not what this looks like, okay? That's reacting. That's a reactionary stance. It doesn't work. They can still slander you, but if you make it so their accusations won't stick, they will look like the unhinged ones, not you. Exactly. Exactly. You cannot control what the left does. You cannot control the names they call you. You can't control any of that. They're going to do it anyway. The only thing that you can control is what you are putting out there and making it difficult for those accusations to stick with reasonable people. Because there are still reasonable people in the world. But if those reasonable people see you freaking out over the fact that Lincoln is being portrayed as gay, and then the leftist comes in and go, why do you care if they're gay? Are you a homophobe? Like, why else would you care? Then to the reasonable people who don't care if anyone's gay, they're going to be like, yeah, like, why do you care if he was gay? Like, what's the big deal? Do you guys see how that works? Philosophus says, what really freaks me out is the consolidation of resources makes an authoritarian takeover very feasible, and they don't care if it's the left or the right. I agree with you there, Philosophist. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he probably was a top, if we're honest about it. Like, I can't see Abe Lincoln being a bottom, to be honest, but who knows? Who knows? People like what they like. Who are we to say? Anyway, guys, we're going to do a quick episode of the show today, but I did want to update you on the fact that Abe Lincoln was queer. If you want to watch the full clip, you can head over to my Substack. I do have the video there. Again, I don't want to play it on YouTube because I don't want to get in trouble for that. So you can find it there. And guys, please make sure you are signed up for my Substack. While you are over there, check out this article about the 3 types of leftists. I've got some other stuff as well that you can read, catch up on from last week. And if you want more information about why queer is a political act, if you haven't caught up with that yet, I do have this recent article on the Substack in which I play clips from Socialism Saturday to explicitly articulate why queer is a political act. Okay? Beth, thank you for the super chat. Did you know the game Monopoly was invented by a socialist? I ordered my t-shirt and Trump cup. I did see your order come through, Beth. I appreciate that. Guys, I'm about to hit 100 customers on unwokeart.com. I just need a couple more orders. If you want to check out my merch store, you can go to unwokeart.com and get yourself some cool swag to include the golden Trump. I'm keeping the golden Trump in there through Father's Day. So you can get your Father's Day gifts. There's also t-shirts, prints, all sorts of stuff. It says Trump, or it doesn't say Trump's name specifically, but it says always get the last laugh with Trump looking very happy. And I got to say, DeSantis really pissed a lot of people off today by using those AI art images in his ad against Trump. And so Trump's chances are looking better and better and better every day. Yes, I'm going to make the Rainbow Marks t-shirt. I just haven't done it yet. That is coming. I'm going to get my Pride Month line in the store, but just not right this second. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, who knows. Jen says it's the same as BIPOC, for example, where the table everyone of that group under the same marker, similar to now queer. Exactly, Jen. Exactly. All right, guys, I got to bounce for now, but again, if you are interested, I'm going to go do the finishing touches for the workshop that I'm giving at 8 p.m. tonight. And there is a follow-up to next week at 8 p.m. as well. And we are doing a mindfulness workshop tonight called Zen Your Life, Mindfulness Strategies for Work and Play. This is one of my favorite topics to teach. I'm so excited to be doing this workshop tonight. And I will pop the link in the chat. There's still plenty of time to join us. If you are a supporter on my Patreon or in my locals community for $25 a month or more, then you will have gotten an email with registration information. I will be sending out the Zoom link separately, bot, for next week. So the Zoom link is separate. This is just for the first part of the program. Yes, I will be sending that out. So don't worry about that. All right, guys, I'm going to go put the last finishing touches on this workshop and take a little break and maybe even eat some dinner on a good night. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. for happy hour. I can't believe it's Friday again already, almost. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.